all right, 9/11, that happened, and it was kind of this 3-year gestation period for
I'm basically
figuring it out, right?
I'm basically smoking weed and by myself in my house, having people come over, selling them stuff, keep the operation going because I can't have a job and actually, try to figure this stuff out. So I had the weed, and I'm not trying to live extravagantly. I think rent was like $500. I'm eating like by myself like $400 worth of food or something like that. Yeah. So I'm not balling at any way whatsoever. I'm just studying 6-7 hours a day. Wake up. Okay, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. So reverse engineer, and I did that for a good 3 years.
Right.
And by the way, I didn't know how to talk to people like this. This didn't come naturally. This is something I had to work at. Yep. How to articulate your words, how to get people into this information. And then I started calling radio stations locally in 2004. And I hooked up with a guy named Mike Trevisano. Mike Trevisano was the top guy in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
And this, the internet still wasn't big back then. Rogan wasn't anybody back then. He was the top guy in Cleveland. And he would have me on. I would call in the radio station. And then he eventually started having me on all the time. So I'm like
live in studio?
Oh, yeah, live in studio. So I used to come in he started having me live in studio for the first time around 2006. Okay. Around that area. And at this point, I'm so different from everyone else. People are calling in with their birthdays. I'm giving their readings. The stuff's still on YouTube. You guys can look it up. Yeah, this is all raw shit from 20 years ago. And people are, basically, if you think people are calling me a fraud now, you should have seen the shit. You should see the shit back then. So
was it because of they were more religious? Because in Spanish culture, numerology. I wouldn't say numerology. I'd say astrology and tarot cards is kind of that's really perceived in the Latino community as demon shit.
Yeah, of course.
So was it that angle with
No, this is just a fraud, steak oil
shut
sales.
up, this.
Shut the fuck up, all this stuff. And then I started making predictions. And then I said someone will win the NBA Finals in 2005, 2006, 2007, and then I did something unprecedented. In 2007, I told everyone the market's going to crash. I started running my mouth. The market's going to crash, and it happened next year.
What gave it away?
Nah.
Wrong, dude, no.
Not happening. No. I might tell you privately.
Okay,
that's not going to be on the air,
I
bro.
Understand.
I'm not giving people the opportunity to reverse engineer 20 years of my work like that.
Right.
But after 2008, the host started giving me a lot of credit because he pulled all his money out.
Oh, wow.
And I saved him probably $500,000.
Yeah.
And, he starts saying shit like this. I saved him a lot of money. All of a sudden, a lot of people are getting interested. I have a MySpace back then. People are starting to get a little bit interested in what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. I started going to restaurants, and people would pay to have a meal and a reading with me. So this is about 2008, 2009. There would 50 people would pay $200 to get a 3-minute reading from me and a little monologue. And so I would literally be here for 5 hours, literally reading fucking 80 people.
Yeah.
And
so it's the super chats.
Boom. Yeah. It's 3 minutes, but this is
$70
in person.
consultations.
This is in person. And this is when
I get you. Yeah.
This is when I was a cheap whore. You could probably talk to me for $20, $35 and stuff like that. I give you a reading like a gypsy shit.
So 2001. It hits you. Then from there, you kind of wow, this. You're kind of practicing numerology.
About 3 years practice. Then I start calling the radio stations. I become a local celebrity.
How long did that take?
The local celebrity part, probably about 3-4 years because I was on the news
in Ohio.
Yeah, in Ohio. So again, I used to go on the news and all this stuff. All this was facilitated because the top guy liked me.
Yeah,
it flat out, the top guy liked me, man. And I wanted him to like me. I'm not gonna lie about that, man. I wanted him to like me, and his wife fucking loved me.
Oh,
that's where I got him because his wife was with him. and I gave his wife a reading, and I killed it. And his wife loved me so much. She was in his ear to have me on, and then I kind of grew on the guy. So I kind of did it through a woman. Okay, I gotta do it through a woman, and my wife knows it too. So when it comes down to it, it's around 2008, 2009.
Okay.
Well, actually, let's go back to 2007. 2007, because of my fame in Cleveland, Ohio, all of a sudden I get in contact with the Cleveland Browns, the Cleveland Indians, and the Cleveland Cavaliers.
All those teams need as much help as they fucking can get.
So I used to stand in front of the Browns facility in Berea with signs that said, use numerology to fix the Browns.
Nice.
I swear,
I love it.
This is what, 2 decades ago, right?
Yep.
And believe me, the Browns are garbage. So in 2007, I basically got in contact with the person who gave me I think is Michael Savage's the GM of the Browns was Savage. Phil Savage was his name.
Okay.
And I got the secretary, and I was like, listen, I want to talk to Phil. I'm really good at numerology. And she's like, okay, here's my birthday. If you can read me, I'll get you to him. Read her like a book. I'm on to Phil. Only problem is he doesn't want to listen to me because he's an ordained minister. He don't care anything about this. But I'm relentless. I'm going to the office, and one day I get a phone call. I'll never forget this. This is 2007. I get a phone call. Pick it up. He's like, son, my name is Lou Marletti. Do you know who I am? I'm like, no. I was about to say, no, bitch ass. But, okay. So he's like, Google me. I'll call back in 10 minutes. I'm like, what the fuck? I Googled the man. Former head of the Secret Service under Bill Clinton.
Oh, shit.
Oh, wow.
He calls back
Don't
in
go
10
to Arkansas.
He calls back. He calls back in 10 minutes. I take some bass out of my voice. How you doing, sir?
Hi, sir.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up?
Not that loud. We got there. We got there. And all of a sudden, he's like, listen, the Browns want nothing to do with you. I'm like, listen, I know I'm good at something. He's like, sir, if you bother them, we're going to put a restraining order on you.
Wow.
And the reason I was pounding on Phil Savage's door because I wanted him to draft Adrian Peterson in 2007.
I love it.
Who was born 3/21/1985, an 11 life path. I said this guy would be the next Jim Brown.
Yep.
Wow.
And I said draft him. Now, they did get Joe Thomas, who was a Hall of Famer. But let's face it, a Hall of Fame offensive tackle versus a Hall of Fame running back.
Yeah.
Come on, what's more important here?
And
Let's
Adrian
be
Peterson
real.
was fucking
Adrian
entertaining as
Peterson
hell.
would have been the man here in Cleveland if they listened to me. Instead, I go on a radio station and they're not listening to me, so I just fucking go with the gear. I just roast these guys, completely roast these guys. And what happens is they put a restraining order on me after the radio station. After the radio show, I got a restraining order on me by the Cleveland Browns. I'm not
It's because the whole area is really listening to you.
Yeah. I had it that much.
Wow.
Hey.
I had it that much. This is when I was young and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I'm telling all these internet guys. It's easy to make it on the internet.
They're
now.
not hungry. They're not hungry.
It's
Right.
easy to make it. Try to make it as an influencer back in the radio days. None of you fuckers would have made it.
Right.
So again, let's go from there. That the Browns pretty much didn't work out.
Right.
Now let's move on to the Cleveland Indians. The Cleveland Indians were very respectful.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Mark Shapiro and Antonetti, all the guys who were with Cleveland back then, they were very respectful. They listened to what I had to say. I just couldn't close them at that time. I wasn't good enough in 2000. Now, if it was me today, I would have closed them. In 2007, didn't have the experience to close them. That was like one of my first meetings. I had my wife tie up my suit and everything. My tie. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, but they were very respectful. No ill wills. To this day, I wish the guys happy birthday all the time.